Hey YouTube, Longways Post 1975. This is a video response to a very good friend of mine on here, Sean from the Sainted Magnus Show. As always, I'll put a link in the doohickey down below, and he's in my channel list. Apparently my channel list lives over there. He asked an absolutely brilliant question. He asked, what was your first online experience? Sorry, my mouth's watering. Even though it tastes like shit, there's still a piece of Marmite chocolate knocking around beneath my camera. And it smells great regardless of how bad it tastes. Sorry, away from the point. First online experience. Now, in order for me to talk about this, I've got to take you back to where I was on my first online experience, Absolute one of the most, fantastic times of my life. For fond memories, and that's the early to mid-90s. Because the early to mid-90s is a really, really important point in the evolution of video games. So I just come out of college, and I just sold my Super Famicom. I just started drifting away from consoles. Well, sorry, 16-bit consoles. It'll be a year or so before I bought my Japanese PlayStation, and I got my hands on a PC. Now you've got to remember, back then it's not so much like it was now. I mean, people still did this back then, but it was not like it is now in the sense that everyone builds PCs now. But there was kind of a stigma in the early to mid-90s about building PCs. It was something you thought you had to kind of be, well, basically qualified engineer to do, and obviously buying PCs from a shop in those days were ridiculously expensive. Oh, honourable shout out, by the way, two of my favourite sitcoms of all time, early to mid-90s, Seinfeld and the Drew Carey Show. Does anyone else miss the Drew Carey Show as much as me? Anyway, sorry, off topic again. Yeah, so PCs had this stigma, they were kind of expensive. And I became friends with a guy at the time who was actually basically an electrician. So he helped me build my first PC. Now I'll never forget it, because I remember buying the components for it before we put it together, and I remember buying a Pentium 200 processor with MMX technology. I think it was MMX technology. If anyone knows for sure, leave a comment. And I remember reading a review on it in a magazine. It said, at last, finally, a Pentium processor with enough power to defend the Earth from aliens. And to this day it still gives me a chuckle. Like, seriously? Enough power to defend the Earth from aliens? Exactly what aliens are we talking about with a Pentium 200? Illegal aliens? Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Well, you know me, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I wasn't waffling. Oh, and I had a 3D accelerator card, and I had a Voodoo. I can't remember what it was. A Voodoo, one of the really original Voodoos. Now, up until this point, obviously, it was pre-N64, so 3D accelerators, cards were amazing in the sense that what a simple thing to kind of slightly blur the textures on a wall, so when you got up close it wasn't properly all pixelated and crap. So excellent. Now the games at the time, some of my favourite and fondest remembered games of all time. The first bunch of truly, proper 3D games. Now, I don't really count Wolfenstein. I know it had its role in what was to come afterwards, but my first experience with Wolfenstein was actually on a SNES anyway. I'm talking about Doom, Doom 2, Heretic, Hexen, Blood, Ninja Warrior, Descent. I still consider Descent a first-person shooter. But these games are utterly groundbreaking. I mean, they look crude now, but at the time they were very impressive. Fully 3D environment. Alright, the enemy was sprites, which is why it's going to make the game I'm going to talk about for my first online experience, even more sort of revolutionary. But these games definitely had their place in history. They've got to be remembered as, one of the great tipping points in the gaming industry, in the sense that if it wasn't for these games, there would be no Call of Duty now. These games marked the transition from 2D to a fully fledged new 3D world. Even though I say that about Call of Duty, I guess that Call of Duty owes more to the original Medal of Honor on the PlayStation, which in its sense is actually more of a reflection on GoldenEye on the 64 than it is on these games. But you know what I mean. This was like the first time that we realised that you had this world you could explore in your face, first person, as it's known. So brilliant. Also, honourable mention for Dark Forces. Does anyone remember the original Dark Forces? So yeah, just got my my first PC. And do you remember Shareware, when you used to buy a magazine in the newsagents? I saw clips like downloadable demos on Xbox Live and stuff like that these days. But yeah, and you would get like a version of a game, and you get like 6 fully playable levels, you know. And the game that completely rocked my world, not just online, but it is one of my favourite single-player first-person shooters of all time. It's the original Quake. I absolutely love Quake. So much so, in fact, that I want to show you something. I still play Quake on my Wii. Also, it's probably worth mentioning that I still play Doom 2 on my Wii, and I still play Hexen and Descent on my Wii. So much so, you know, it's how much I love these games. But yeah, so Quake, fantastic game, and it was groundbreaking in the sense that you have fully 3D enemies, not sprites that you could just walk around and you would always see the front of them. You know, proper fully rendered 3D enemies. And then, you know, talking about my my graphics card, then you got GL Quake. The patch, you know, GL Quake was amazing. Just such a simple thing made it just absolutely amazing. And that was the time I started playing online for the first time ever. I can honestly say that Quake was probably the first, not just my favourite, but the first game I ever caned balls out of online. It's amazing now thinking about it, because I mean, I never played online on Dreamcast back in the day. I only ever played on the PC, you know, before broadband or high speed kicked in. But it's amazing how did we put up with it, like on a 56k V90 modem? I mean, what was that, 5 to 7k a second? I mean, I do remember that in order to play it, I had an application or program running on my computer. If anyone can please remember this, definitely leave a comment, because I'd love to remember what this is. But it was kind of an application that smoothed out the overall effect in ping and speed of your connection online, because obviously it was so slow that it was kind of jittery and jumpy and crappy like that. And so this thing kind of smoothed it out in the sense that it averaged everything, if that makes sense. It averaged everything. So the problem with that was, though, you know, depending on the speed you had and the speed of the connection your buddy had, if you were shooting at someone, by the time you finally unloaded your clip, they may not be there anymore. But I do know that we had to use it to play online. Now, I played this game a lot online, probably more so than I play online now. I mean, easily 4 to 5 hours a night, every night of the week, 7 days. I fell in love with this game. If it wasn't for this game, I probably wouldn't play online now. Definitely left such a big impression on me. Fantastic. And then you start getting customizable maps. Oh, to this day, the one map of any first-person shooter I've played more than anything ever is Fragtown. Does anyone else remember Fragtown? You know, the limited small town with the deserted buildings and the elevators and certain high points and the billboards in the background saying Fragtown. Love Fragtown. And then you got customizable skins. And I just thought that, you know, when this first happened, this blew my mind. I was going to say, as a kid, it blew my mind. Obviously, it didn't blow my mind. I'm in my early 20s at this point. Yeah, so I remember I played for months as the Incredible Hulk. You know, I had the ripped purple pants, green legs, built like a tank, green upper body, bad basin haircut. Yeah, absolutely love Quake. Seriously, I cannot say, well, you probably get it, I cannot say enough, you know, good things about Quake. I like Quake 2. I didn't like when they went with Quake 3 Arena, because obviously the internet was high speed then, and they finally just went to competitive, you know, which I guess is what Call of Duty is now. But I was very much, until this day, still in love with my single player campaign. So I like Quake 2, but no game ever online, first person, first experience ever as good as Quake. You know, like I said, I still play it. I absolutely love Quake. Sean also asked a really, really good second question, which is, what are you most looking forward to or most caning, you know, online right now? Now, the problem with that is, as you're probably aware, mate, is I want to play this. I really badly want to play this. You know, I no longer own this on the 360, because even though I wanted to see what it looked like and finish the campaign, you know, in HD, I've always preferred playing first-person shooter controls, you know, with Wii controls. Now, the reason I say it would be this is my internet is anyone who's watched me for a while knows this. My internet is just monkey balls, and even though an engineer came to our house yesterday and told us he'd fixed everything and that the call centre was wrong, that's interesting. The call centre was wrong, the problem is not in our house. He went to the exchange over the road, quarter of a mile down the road, and he fixed it. The minute he went home, it plumbed again. So I can't really say what I want to play online right now, only that if I could, I would play that. Sorry, mate, I know that's a bit of a cop-out. But yeah, that's my answer to Saint Magnus's epic questions. Seriously, everyone, I really highly recommend his channel. Go and check it out. You won't be disappointed. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome member of the community, and it's an awesome channel. I'll see you later.